I'd like to welcome the viewers of Martial Arts Illustrated Action Video Magazine to Frank Murphy's Black Belt Academy. Frank?
Yes, Bob.
You've been training a long time. What
Too long, Bob. I've been training too long.
Too long? How can you be training too long?
I could be training too long because there comes a time when you're so long at the business, you can only see marginal improvements in yourself and improvements in your students. So you have to look for, you're always looking for that extra dimension that you can go, beyond coming to the club Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You've got to look for a little bit extra.
And what is that little bit extra? How would you define it?
One simple word: enthusiasm. The word enthusiasm comes from a Greek word called intuus, which means in God. And I reckon nowadays we've seen the gross commercialisation of Christmas. It's blatant at this stage, and that's the beginning of it. And the reason is, I think martial arts years and years and years and years ago were a spiritual thing, and now they've gone too much physical. Yes. We've got to have the balance. We've missed the yin and yang somewhere. We have to get back into this yin and yang.
What are you doing to find this balance between the body and the spirit?
That is a difficult question. That's a loaded question.
We're not going to get all metaphysical, are we?
We're not going to disappear. If you ask me what Dan I am, I'd have to say something silly like Dan, 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 Dan. But we leave that to the other days. What I want to talk about here is a balance between yourself getting... you don't want to be creating a vacuum in any part of your development. You've got a spiritual development, you've got a physical development, you've got a mental development. And the reason I mentioned Christmas was, when you don't have religion around there, and when you just see the commercialism of that little part of the year, you find it creepy into other parts of the year. Festivals being organised and all that type of thing. But when the youth of today, when they don't have a set religion or a spirituality, there's a vacuum. Now something is going to fill that vacuum. And I think the martial arts is a healthy thing, and once you start filling that space with something positive, it doesn't matter what it is, it has to be positive, then you're okay. But you must have a spirit, and you must have an awareness that there's a few parts to your body. Everybody can see people doing the box bits, and they can measure strength, and you can look at people, like we've all seen big fighters in the clash, you can see their physical prowess. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could look at a person's intestine and compare your heart rate and my intestine? Wouldn't that be fantastic? If you could look at somebody internally, and then if you could look at his tenacity, what's his willpower like? And I think that's where I'm trying to develop now at this stage. After all, in my 40s, okay, we do press-ups. Let's talk a little bit about press-ups if I could. Normal press-up is here. So the pressure should be taken on your abdomen. So taking the pressure here on your abdomen a little bit here. The further you go, the more pressure on your abdomen. Now most people are doing a press-up like this here and up. So to change, bring your hands in like this. So that gets the outer part of your forearm going down and up here. Okay? If you can do one on the other hand, it's good again here. And up, down, and up, down, and up, down, and up. Now knuckle press-ups is another thing I'm asked quite a lot about. So to develop your knuckles, while you're stretching your leg here, but instead of just put your hand here on the floor, you can put your knuckle down. Now it's not much, but every time you stretch, that's quite a lot, you can just do this. You might only stretch during a spar, but you have your knuckles down like this here. So there, and also twist knuckle there as well like that. Same as the other side, that's it. So as you're stretching, which is a normal stretch there, and you're supporting your body, and also twisting your knuckles onto the floor. Once you've got a reasonable amount of calluses on your knuckles, you can then begin the press-ups. Take the position, and as you go down, you can twist. You're twisting your arms, you're going down, twisting as you come back up. Twisting going down, twisting going back up. You can then begin to bounce if you like, twisting the whole body up. On the floor. After a while, it's quite good. But it doesn't really matter because the bone is structured as well as this. Okay, well, one last thing, when you're doing any stretching like this here, support yourself with your fingertips and try to claw the floor surface, because that will increase your grip when you're grappling. Okay, same as you did it with the knuckles. Exercise for your legs, lying down like this here, and then you're exercising your hip this way, That's a good one. That's a good one. These are safe exercises because your back is supported by the floor. Anything with your back supported is definitely you don't have to be very cautious with these type of exercises. You can operate the hip and you operate the hip this way. Some of the exercises that I do, because I have a back problem myself, and maybe a lot of martial artists out there, maybe back sufferers, you may be interested in some of these exercises. Place one foot there and place one foot behind. So I'm only stretching a little bit at a time, yeah? Hands on the floor and just try to bring your body right down like this here. Just stretching here like this. That's it. Breathing obviously is important. You take a big breath in and breathe out. That stretches in here like this here. Again, the same with the opposite side. Other stretches that are small stretches is sitting like this. Okay, place your hand there and stretch this leg around like this. As wide as you can, and then you can stretch out here like this. Now, to get a barometer of your stretch, to see how far you can stretch, can you do it from your knee or can you do it from your shin? Let's try the other leg. Same thing again here, hand on your thigh, and I want you to swing this all the way around. So, as you increase your flexibility, you can then put your hand on your knee. You're going to swing around this way. You're putting your hand on your shin, around this way, and then if you're really very, very supple, we can go around all the way like this. Get your foot like this here, but at least it's still like this here. Okay? Sitting up like this, stretch out like this here, and stretch out like this here. Okay? There's a good one for the camera. Okay. Legs like this. This is probably another better stretch than up like this. The reason why this is a safer stretch is, again, the floor is protecting you. You're nice and relaxed. There's no strain on your hamstrings, there's no strain on your calf. Okay? By turning your toes back and lifting the heel up, you're even getting a stretch there. It's only a minute stretch, but it's quite effective if you hold that position there. Again, look, your back is very, very straight. And another thing I see beginners doing is, when they bend forward, they bend straight down like this here. Try to keep your belly first. So your belly drops first, yeah? Then your rib cage drops, and then you keep your head back. Common mistake is everybody, when they go over, leaning over one side, they just drop the head straight down, and that will bend the spine. Now remember, there's 33 bones in your spine, and the bottom 9, when you become an adult, they're locked into position there. So a big breath, dropping your body first here, then you're dropping your rib cage. Make sure you keep your head back, then you drop your shoulders, so your shoulders down next, then lastly, your chin here, and then last of all, your forehead comes down. Nice, you've got a nice spine like this here, and your hand is up. Again, breathing in, and breathing out. Okay, and obviously the same on the opposite side. Now the reason why that's a better stretch than the one I mentioned earlier is that when you do a stretch like this, and I know some of you looking at this video may think you have a lot of time on your hands, those of you who are instructors especially, you've got to do stretches like this in the lesson. But for those of you who are practicing with this videotape at home, it's best if you can do most of your stretching, especially in a lying down position or in a situation where this floor is supportive of your back and your legs. So you can see here, even though I'm bending here, that's hurting it's putting a pressure on my back, and it's also putting a bit of pressure on my hamstrings. Whereas in this position, both my back and my hamstrings are relaxed, and we can concentrate on the job at hand, which is the only purpose of this, is to stretch. Every one of us at some stage of our martial arts career have come into the gym, a little bit of a warm up like that, a little bit of jogging the spot, maybe a few punches, and straight into a big kick. Up a kick, leg up. Before you know it, the hamstring is out of condition. That's a very, very common mistake. So then, you may be out of training for a few months, maybe a bit longer. So how can you continue on training with a niggly little hamstring injury? One of the best ways to do it is obviously is hot and cold water treatment. Maybe into a shower with hot water and then maybe a cold sponge. If you can't do that then, right, I want you to try and do an exercise like this here. So you're lying down again and you can stretch the hamstring by keeping your finger on the glute muscle right in here where the hamstring connects to the glute muscle on your backside, and as you pull this forward here, that will help to stretch it. That's probably the safest stretch to do in the first place, like this here. So you're stretching this here, just keeping it nice and compact. Again, if you watch, my back is supported by the floor, so I'm not doing anything wrong there. You can then turn this all the way around like this here. So you're getting a good exercise on the hip and an excellent stretch on the hamstring there. In actual fact, lying down is quite effective in doing some of the exercise for kicking as well, because you can do excellent hip movements. You can get the hip movement up like this, so you're just walking on the hip here. So taking it through a range of maybe a half a foot, maybe 6 inches like this, that can work on the hip there. Also, by bringing the foot back, a lot of beginners, you know, when they kick with the flat of the foot or the toes up or the toes down, you can teach a lot of beginners by kicking properly, lying on the floor, supporting this, no strain. And the other good thing is, young people as well as very elderly people in your martial arts class can do the same thing. You can kicking out and back, so everybody gets the benefits here. But as you can see, I'm working the hip. That's a common mistake doing this exercise. Anybody can do this, but we're working on the hip joint there. Now I'm aiming this at people who are stiff. Most of the people that you see on the videotape may be more flexible than I am, but I'm aiming this at people who are in their 40s and who can't stretch as good as you'd like to be able to. However, this is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to work on the hip. So there, that's a good exercise for the hip. So once that's done, do maybe sessions of maybe 10 repetitions of this, and then maybe 10 repetitions of this one here. When it's done there, you can go on with it. So obviously the same with the opposite side. For the front kicks, that's for the side kick. For the front kick, you can do the same thing like this. Sitting down like this, lifting one leg up in the air like this. Now again, it will hurt your abdomen here. So there you go, you've got the leg like this here, and then you can turn the leg like this. Just to get, as you can see, just working on the hip joint. There's no stretching involved in the hamstring, because if it was torn, it wouldn't hurt. So that's a good exercise. Go on the hip there. Around in a circle we go. Again, maybe 10 repetitions to the right, 10 to the left, and then working it like this. You've got to keep that heel high, you've got to keep those toes backwards. Okay, and you've got to keep the body up. No, we're doing it lying down, this here. After a while, you find a big build up here on your hip. And your hips are nice and loose then to do any of the exercises. Okay? Right. Another exercise what I want to go through here is some of your tummy work, right? Okay, everybody does sit-ups. We do sit-up and come forward like this, and up you go. One of the best exercises I came across recently is actually saying something with the sit-up. So for example, when you come up, 1, so you're saying the number 1. The second time you come up, you're saying 1, 2. Because when you're fighting, your breathing is irregular. You're not breathing normally, you're very irregular with the breathing. So as you come forward like this, you're going 1, 2. And the next one, 1, 2, 3. And the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you've got to keep, for example, the number 7 is difficult to say. So your respiratory system is under a lot of pressure there. Look at the difference. If you came up and the instructor was counting, so it's only you're only physically working out. As I said earlier in the videotape, you have to be inspired, you have to be motivated. It's just not you're kicking and punching, it's what you're after here. You have to have a continuous hunger to come training into your dojo every single week to continuously improve. So you have to have these motivational tools in your own training. So when you're going, you're instead just going because after a while you can see the improvements coming. Your enthusiasm overrides everything else. Without enthusiasm, it's not much good, right? So as you're coming forward, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the same thing all the way up to 10 and back down to 1. Another one is sitting like this. Now, you can do exercises like this if you like, but connect your hands as well here. That's a good one for beginners who want to condition your knuckles. Lift your hips up, twist your hands up and down like this here. Okay, you can pull your legs up like this here, opening and closing your legs. Keep your legs up and open and close the legs there. 1, sir, 2, sir, 3, sir, 4, sir.